Welcome to our countdown of the most popular board games as of January 2018. Basically, these are the games that people have been looking at and talking about the most on the internet's largest board game database website. Hopefully, this countdown may help you find some new games that you might not have known about yet. So, be sure to subscribe and click the little bell notification icon so you don't miss out on anything. But for now, let's get started with this month's list. So this month's list is kind of interesting. There were 123 different games that appeared on the Board Game Geek Hotness list throughout the last month. And of the top 10 games on that list, 8 of them appeared on last month's list. And 6 of those appear in the exact same position that they did last month. So in order to prevent me from going absolutely insane by repeating a countdown that's nearly identical to last month's, we're going to mix things up a little bit this time. Each time that we encounter a game that appeared on last month's countdown in the exact same spot, we're going to randomly select one of the other 123 games that ranked and discuss it as well. So, for example, holding strong in spot number 10 again this month is Arkham Horror the Card Game, a tabletop card-playing experience in which players take on the role of investigators researching the eerie unknown to uncover secrets while simultaneously putting their own sanity at risk of unraveling like a ball of yarn. And a ball of yarn is something that your favorite feline friend may enjoy playing with as much as the game that comes in at number 118 on this month's rankings, Cat Lady by AEG. In Cat Lady, players take on the roles of, well, cat ladies, part of an elite group of people from throughout history, including Marie Antoinette and Ernest Hemingway. And during the game, players draft cards and collect toys, food, catnip, cat costumes, and, of course, lovable kitty cats. But watch out, because neglecting to keep enough food on hand for all of the hungry cats populating the play area will cause penalties. And while gamers may encounter ancient ethereal terrors while playing the Arkham Horror card game, in Cat Lady they'll encounter cats dressed in costumes, which really does seem to be the other end of the spectrum here. Next up is a game that's been undergoing kind of a tug of war of sorts, rising up to number 1 on the list in October, but now having been pulled back down to spot number 9 for the past 2 months. And the game is The Seventh Continent by Serious Pulp. And this tug of war that The Seventh Continent is experiencing with its location on the countdown reminds me of another tug of war game that I think actually is really underrated, Dogs of War, which appears at number 118 in this month's rankings. In Dogs of War by Simon, noble houses engage each other in fierce battles and players must increase their odds of victory by deploying their own private armies in support of these various houses. If you haven't tried Dogs of War, I highly recommend tracking it down and giving it a try. And if you do, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. The critically acclaimed economic territory civ fighting game Scythe is another game that retains its previous position on the countdown this month, which means it is time to pick another random game to discuss from the 123 other games that were listed on Board Game Geek's Hotness list this month. And this time, it's gonna be LCR. Really? Okay. I mean, no, I'm not disparaging LCR, it's just unexpected. In LCR, each player starts with 3 poker chips and, on their turn, rolls 3 dice, which have an L, a C, an R, and 3 sides with a single dot on them. And for each L roll, the player gives a chip to the player on their left. And for each R roll, they give a chip to the player on their right. And for each C roll, they put a chip in the middle of the table. The dice are then passed to the next player, who does the same thing, and so on and so forth, until only one player has all the chips and wins. I gotta be honest, my first reaction to seeing LCR on this list was to ask, why is this on the hotness? So I visited the LCR forum on the Board Game Geek website, only to discover a forum post there asking, why is this on the hotness? Turns out that nobody really knows for sure, so I guess it's just gonna be one of those unsolvable mysteries in life, like where we go when we die or where popcorn comes from. So there you go, LCR. Hotter this month than Massive Darkness. But don't anybody tell Mark Street that.
I was going to ask if you wanted to guess each one before we start.
What's your best guess for number 10?
Massive Darkness?
Oh, close. Well, and by close I mean no. Number 6.
Is it Massive Darkness?
No. Number 5.
Massive Darkness.
No.
No.
So what is your guess for the game in spot number 4?
Every guess from now on is Massive Darkness. Every guess.
Well, this time
It's correct.
it didn't pay off again.
Dropping a notch this month from number 6 to 7 is Gaia Project by Z-Man Games. Gaia Project is a successor of sorts to Terra Mystica, and as in the original Terra Mystica, 14 different factions develop and grow, this time by terraforming various planets into environments that are compatible with their species. Now, if you'd like more information about the Gaia Project, I highly recommend checking out episode 135 of the Rolling Dice and Taking Names podcast, which featured an informative, in-depth review of the game by several players with varying perspectives on it. And please note that the Rolling Dice and Taking Names podcast did not pay me money or anything to mention their show. They are not a sponsor of the program. Heck, in fact, I refuse to even hang around with Marty Cannell or even eat a sandwich that he's touched. Okay, that's not true. Marty is actually a really, really cool guy. In fact, I will often steal food off of his plate at conventions and eat it, whether he realizes it or not. But don't worry, I blame it on Mark Street. But don't anybody tell Mark Street that. Now, slipping 3 spots from number 3 to 6 this month is Kingdom Death Monster, the cooperative tabletop RPG set in a unique, nightmarish world where characters often start out the game with literally less than the shirt off their back, and then must fight monsters, craft weapons and gear, and develop their settlements in order to ensure their own survival. Now, it's been nearly a year since the Kickstarter for version 1.5 of the game raised over $12 million on Kickstarter. And that Kickstarter's backer rewards were scheduled to start shipping out in phases all the way through the end of the year 2020. So, a year into that 3-year stretch goal, I'm wondering what additional content has made its way to backers now, and what new content is coming up next. So, if you backed Kingdom Death Monster 1.5 on Kickstarter, let me know what's arrived and what's on the way next in the comments below. Hey, we're at the halfway point through our list, which is a great spot for a reminder that videos like this are made possible by viewers like you who are funding Pair of Dice Paradise's 2018 season. Every pledge of support helps create more videos just like this one, and it's really, really appreciated. So thank you for supporting Pair of Dice Paradise. And for now, let's continue with this month's top 5 games. Holding steady in spot number 5 for a second month in a row is Terraforming Mars. And while terraforming the Martian landscape is certainly an adventure, you don't have to travel all the way to distant worlds to find environments that are just as alien to mankind. Just look at our own planet's oceans to explore a realm that can be equally inhospitable to human life. Which brings me to the game that ranked at number 31 on this month's list, U-Boat, a boat game called U-Boat, the board game by Phalanx. U-Boat, the board game, is a fully cooperative, real-time tabletop game of World War II submarine warfare in which 1 to 4 players assume the roles of the captain, the first officer, the navigator, and the chief engineer on board of a U-Boat. The game is driven by a companion app, allowing for a heightened level of realism as well as an enemy-controlled AI. The game claims to require demanding teamwork, efficient crew management, and quick situation assessment in order for the players to emerge victorious. U-Boat, the board game, as it is actually spelled and not U-Boat or U-Boat as I have been mispronouncing it this entire time, reached spot number 31 overall this month. So, will it now continue to rise from here or sink back down into the countdown's depths? Well, I'm sure we're going to find out as the game gets closer to its expected October release. Another game out there that retains its same position on the countdown from last month is the game in spot number 4, Azul by Plan B Games. So, not only following our trend of looking at another game from elsewhere on the list when we find one that's in the same position, but also looking to another game with a 4-letter title, we have Otis. Or Otis, or Otis, or U-Boat. I'm calling it Otis. Otis takes place in the mid-22nd century, where all available land has been engulfed by the rising seas. The survivors must now fight for their lives while struggling to remain above sea level. Players are members of a colony called Otis, and they must retrieve the debris of past civilizations from under the depths of the sea in order to build a foundation solid enough to support the future of humanity. Otis was released in November 2017 and flew under my radar completely. So if you've played Otis or know how to pronounce it, let me know in the comments below. This month's biggest climber is the game that catapulted its way all the way up from spot 44 last month, Fallout, which ends this month in spot number 3. In Fallout, based on the popular video game series of the same name, 1 to 4 players embark on a post-nuclear apocalyptic adventure. Now, each Fallout scenario is inspired by a familiar story from the video game mythos. Survivors begin the game on the edge of an unexplored landscape with just one objective to guide them, and from there they explore a hidden map, fight ferocious enemies, and hone their survival skills as they attempt to complete challenging quests and find balance among feuding factions within the game. Now, have you played both Fallout the board game and the video game series? If so, in the comments, let me know which version you actually prefer and why. Spot number 2 this month is claimed by the very first legacy game developed by publisher Stonemaier Games, Charterstone. Charterstone is a competitive legacy game in which players construct buildings and populate their sector of a shared village. And as with most legacy-style games, stickers are used to make permanent additions to the game board and the rulebook, allowing for the game to evolve and grow over the course of a dozen or so different gaming sessions. Now, since Charterstone is a legacy game, I don't want to say too much about it and risk giving away any spoilers. However, I will say that as a fan of legacy-style games, I was really looking forward to Charterstone's arrival for a really long time. And now, having played through about a third of its campaign, I can let you know that it has not disappointed me. So, if you are curious about what legacy games have to offer, highly recommend giving Charterstone a try. And, of course, retaining its spot in slot number 1 for a third month in a row is Gloomhaven by Cephalofair Games. Now, I have talked quite a bit about Gloomhaven in other countdowns, so in the spirit of this little system that we have going on here this time, I'm gonna switch out gloomy old Gloomhaven for a game with a more cheery title. The game that comes in at number 77 this month on the list, Smile by Z-Man Games. In the card-driven game Smile, players scour the forest to lure the various critters that have escaped from their menagerie back home by tempting them with juicy fireflies. But that is easier said than done, because there's also wild creatures roaming around out there that will also be lured by your firefly treats. But capturing those creatures results in negative points. So players must wisely allocate their fireflies to attract the best critters while also saving enough for use in bidding in future rounds. And there you have it, your list of the 10 most popular board games as of January 2018. And for more countdowns, be sure to check out this playlist full of them. And for more videos full of board game news, reviews, and commentary, be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much, and until next time, I've been Chaz Marler. Take care. Hey there! Now, I usually feature a funny outtake or an extra joke called a stinger in this section over the credits, but this time, I wanted to let you know that Podpledge has added the ability for Pair of Dice Paradise to now sell merchandise over on our fundraising page, which is pretty awesome, but not very funny. So, to help compensate, I'll do the rest of this announcement in a series of funny voices. In the new Pair of Dice Paradise merchandise shop, you can get this custom-made neoprene playmat, perfect for replacing flimsy paper playmats. I'll add a link to the Pair of Dice Paradise merchandise shop page in the description below, where you can get a discount when you buy a full set of all of the playmats. But don't anybody tell Mark Street that.